All right, we are live and ready to go. Welcome to the latest edition of The Right Side on Campus. I'll be your host today, Donnie RightSide, with my main man. Soon he is the big man on campus now, but hey, we'll never know. We'll see how that changes up there. Some good things in the future for the big man on campus. Jeff, say hello to everybody. We got NIT in full swing tonight. It's only a 2-game slate, so usually, big man, we're ripping through, picking apart, 15 to 20 games per night. Now it's where the rubber meets the road. Let's see if we can make some money out there.
Yeah, just 2 tonight, Donnie. The road is whittling down. We're getting to the end of the road here sooner or later. And yeah, got some games tomorrow, but yeah, only 2 tonight. And yes, Donnie, I am the big man on campus, but that doesn't mean I can't get a little slimmer. Dieting has been tough for me. It's been very difficult. I like the pasta too much, that sort of thing. Going a little different route. So you might see a smaller guy on campus. So all the haters might have not much to say anymore sooner or later.
Hey, we'll see how it goes.
I might be stealing your girl. That's what I'm going to say.
Stealing the wife. Hey, she's very expensive. The wife is expensive. So if you want to come get the wife, hey, it might be a little bit thin there. Hey, welcome to the show again, guys. Right Side on Campus here. uwager.eu doing some big things there with SBR. Also, if you're watching these games, make yourself some money. Check as many sports books as you can there. The most important thing is these odds do change daily, hourly, by the minute. Get those odd swings immediately at sbrodds.com. Can certainly save you some money. Case in point, on Sunday, I swung in right away when it was 4.5 on Wichita State, bought it up to 5. That line immediately was going down. Saw it happening live. When the screen changes color, what's about to take place. That line, I believe, big man, closed around 3. So use it like the stock market. It's a great free tool out there, sbrodds.com.
Yeah, I use it all the time. I've said that before. It's the one odds site that I think is the most comprehensive. It has 6, 7 different books on it. You can kind of set it the way you want it, and just has everything right there funny. So I obviously definitely vouch for sbrodds.com, the best in the business, if you ask me.
Yeah, let's get right into the NIT, what everybody wants to talk about tonight. Looking at the games and the matchups, not a bad card for you tonight. If you have slim pickings, you're not looking at some bottom-of-the-barrel teams you've never heard of. We got Georgia Tech, Mississippi lining up tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, these are still home games because they haven't reached the Garden yet for the NIT Final Four. And also Richmond, TCU. Georgia Tech, big man, coming into this game against Mississippi. I know you've liked Mississippi all year long. Got a nice inside-outside game with Burnett and Saiz down low. Talk a little bit about this matchup and what we might be able to anticipate today for that.
Yeah, I've mentioned before, Georgia Tech to me is a bet-on team at home. They're a bet against to me on the road. Now they're going to go on the road after winning some games at home in this NIT. And listen, Donnie, with the NIT now, you're starting to whittle this field down as well. You win tonight, you go to New York. That's kind of the crux of it. That's what all these teams – and I think at this point we all know who wants to be there, who doesn't want to be there. So for me with this game – Georgia Tech is, again, like I said, a bet against team. They're a team that on the road's only scoring about 63 points a game this year, and that's going to present a problem against an Ole Miss team who, year after year under Andy Kennedy, is very up-tempo, very good going up and down the court, and they're very efficient. 79 points a game. They have a huge rebounding edge in this matchup. Saiz is a really good rebounder and a guy that has been there for 4 years, knows how to rebound the basketball. One of the best in the country, actually 5th in the country nationally at 11.3 rebounds a game, just a man down low. For me, Donnie, I would look no other way than Ole Miss in this game. I'm just not interested in backing the Yellow Jackets on the road. And if you look at their defense, Donnie, on the road, almost 8 points different on the road. They're just not as dominant at home than on the road. So for me, I think Ole Miss is a pretty solid matchup here. They should win this one going away, but this isn't going to be on my card. I actually have no premium plays with the limited card tonight, so if I had to play this, I would go with the Rebels here.
Yeah, we'll take a look. If you take a look at the overall money into the equation here, the over is getting pounded pretty hard with 79% of the wagers coming in, 93% of the money. If you're looking for a side itself, based on the updated numbers there, 53% are on Georgia Tech. Most of the money, though, actually is on Mississippi. The line opened up early at -5, now sits at about 5.5. The one thing I like about Mississippi is the way they actually closed the season. Tough, hard-fought loss to Arkansas in the SEC tournament, 73-72. But before that, beat a pretty good South Carolina team from what you're seeing now, handle Missouri easily, went on the road in one of those environments where, hard for an SEC team maybe to get up and involved with a MAC team, Metro Atlantic team with Monmouth, but came out strong in the second half, put them away. Nice win at Syracuse, coming back home here to face Georgia Tech. Definitely one of those teams that looks, if you like that hot, angle and teams that are really motivated and into it, that could be one. I think Georgia Tech got a little bit of a break that Indiana, big man, wasn't really motivated and declined the home game against Georgia Tech, which allowed them to get the win. Any thoughts on how that, might factor into this lineup coming in?
Yeah, because, we all know that, Indiana was – they just made a coaching change. They made it clear that they were not interested at all, really. They thought they were beneath playing in the NIT tournament. Actually turned down a home game to go down to Georgia and play this game. So, for me, I thought Georgia Tech got a game that they didn't really have to fight too much to win. You look at what like what you said, with Ole Miss beat a Monmouth team on the road, went into West Long Branch and put up 91 points in that game against a very senior leadership group there in Monmouth. That's a nice win. And then you go into the Dome, like you said, put up 85 and beat a Syracuse team that there's teams like Duke and other teams that had trouble going into Syracuse and winning games. So for me, yeah, I would think that Ole Miss, to me, has more of an inclination to win this game. They care more about it, and they're a team that I think is just better right now. Like I said, Georgia Tech, to me, is not a team I'm looking to back on the road.
Yeah, and again, folks, keep in mind, unlike the tournament where you always see me joke around with the hashtag take the points and pray, in this one, these games are still home teams, still in front of their home crowd, home shooting environments. That's always something to lay into, because when you see these lines come out, like, again, 5.5, we're going to dip into this Richmond-TCU game in just a few moments, but also keep in mind in that, those lines are there because there's an extra 3 to 4 points bumped into these lines because they are the home teams, not on neutral court like in March Madness. Let's take a look at
Donnie,
go ahead. Yep, sure.
I'll be honest also. You've mentioned taking the points in the tournament in this NIT tournament. I've taken 4 underdogs in this tournament. I have not bet a favorite yet in this tournament. So for me to lay the points in a tournament like this is just something that I don't really do. But in this spot, it goes a long way here. This is the first time I would consider laying points in the NIT.
Yeah, let's head on down to Fort Worth there in the Big 12. I've said it all along. I'm just not that excited about capping and betting teams in this conference. And TCU was square right in that target range with the K-States and the Texas Techs and teams that just seem like they all muddle together. But they're going to take on a Richmond team that I've been pretty high on all year long, just like the way they play. We joked around, I believe it was on the round table last week, saying that, take the points with Richmond when they head down to Alabama, and they probably can even win the game outright, which they did. TJ Klein, just one of those staple type guys that's just a tough matchup for anybody. 6'9", can shoot it really well, runs the offense through him. It's a pretty, good dynamic that Richmond does come at. But again, TCU is going to be the home team. This is a step up in competition. You're looking for Richmond going down to a Big 12 team and playing them on the road, which is exactly why that line opened up at 8 points there, as you can check on SBRodds.com. Some outlets have it at 7.5. What's some early thoughts you have on this game, big man?
Yeah, this is one where I would take the points. I don't know that TCU is 7 points better than Richmond. I don't know. There's been a lot of lines in this tournament that I don't really understand. Last week I was on Fresno against TCU. They were laying 9 points in that game. Just didn't make any sense. And again, in most of these games, the games are being closed. They're coming down to the wire. You mentioned Klein, who is a senior and a really, really good player. Seems like he's been there for like 8 years.
Yes.
But look, Chandre Jones, the guard, has played really well for them as well. Those two up top are like kind of a really nice 1-2 punch. You look at some of the numbers in this game, Richmond's a team that has been really good on the road against the spread this year, 9-3 overall to the number away from home. And for me, I kind of want to take the points here. It's 7 across the board at SBRodds.com. I'll be honest with you, I put a small play on Richmond plus 7.5 a little bit earlier, but listen, Donnie, neither of these games has a ridiculous amount of value, but I think this one has, a 3 to 4 point game written all over it. In a game where you want to take the points, you have to look at yourself and say, do I see this team winning the game outright? I would not be surprised at all to see Richmond go in and win this game. I think TCU is a nice team. They're a good team, but I'm not sure they're 7 points better. I think Klein will be a tough matchup for them. And look, I think in most aspects, Richmond statistically is better than they are. So I'll take the points here.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you on that. If you just look overall at Richmond's schedule and what they've been doing, just taking a look at how you finished the year. Since it lost to VCU on February the 17th, picked up wins against Davidson, Fordham, UMass St. Louis, and George Washington in a row in the semifinals, which again, no slouch on a neutral court going down to VCU, but very impressive going on the road versus an SEC team in Alabama and handling their business, almost wire to wire in that game. Then beating a very game Oakland team in a high-scoring affair. So they can certainly go down there. It's not going to be one of those games where just because the Big 12 team's playing a lower conference team, they're going to be able to run away with it. This is a pretty good and seasoned team. An interesting thing, too, looking at the odds today, Jeff, backing the under the public is tonight in the Richmond TCU game. Under is at 60% of the tickets and 81% of the money, which looking at the tournament, both NIT and also March Madness, that's pretty hard to do, but it looks like the public is aligning right now with that.
Listen, with these new rules, we made the mistake last night taking an under with Bakersfield and Colorado State. With these new rules, it's very difficult, Donnie, to take unders. I mean, and I know these lines are shaded at this point, and that's factored in, but again, I mean, at this point, all you need is 5 fouls in 10 minutes. And with the way these referees are calling fouls constantly nowadays, it's very difficult to take an under. I mean, it's clear the MO with college basketball. Next year, I think you have to figure that into all your wagers. At this point, the NCAA has come out and said, we want games to be higher scoring. It's come out. They've come out and said it themselves. For me, we've seen it in the tournament. We've seen constant whistles. And I'll be honest with you, and I will go on a rant here at the end of the show. Actually, you know what? I'll just do it now. The NCAA has made March Madness, to me, almost unwatchable at this point. It is brutal to watch these games. All we see is whistle, whistle, whistle. Listen, and it's become a norm in every sport. Unfortunately, though, I never thought it would go to the best tournament we've seen in ever here in this country. You know how much I love college basketball, Donnie. You know that.
I do.
But I've been really disinterested in a lot of these games due to the constant whistleblowing, the constant, we're going to take a game over because we're the refs and we can do that. It's just unwatchable for me. The calls have been disastrous. These refs have no idea what they're doing. There's too many stoppages. There's too many going to the monitors for ridiculous reasons. And for me, I'll say it this year and I'll say it again. I won't back another under. I don't really back unders much of college basketball anyway. It's not really my thing, but I don't really know how you can bet unders anymore with some of these rules.
Yeah, I mean, just take a look at last night. If you watch the show, Late Night on Campus or our show with the right side of campus, I'm not big on too many, over-the-top premium plays. I call them my big-ticket wagers. Only had 4 last week. I average only about 5 a week throughout basketball season. But I do like to have some fun and sort of pick on the public is what I like to call like a lunch money public fade type play. If you take a look at last night, the line opened up in the Cal State Bakersfield game at 126. Versus Colorado State, bet all the way up to 136. So it's just a nice little opportunity maybe to dip in. Everybody was pounding on that over. Maybe you saw a little bit of, or I saw a little bit of value in taking the under in that one. Cal State Bakersfield scored 52 points in the first half. I believe the overall total in the first half went over 80 points. They did regress back to the mean in the second half and only score 60 total points, but never in a million years that I think Cal State Bakersfield would head on the road with the type of style they play and shoot 52%. But then again, I don't anticipate Bakersfield going on the road shooting 80% from 3 range in the first half either.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of been their MO lately. I mean, they did it against the Cal. They did it last night. Listen, they want to win this tournament. They're going to do what they have to do to win it. And, yeah, I mean, just for me, as far as the whole thing, it's just hard to back unders with these rules. I mean, as far as –
really is.
There were 46 free throws in that game last night with Bakersfield, and that was low. I mean, we've seen 60 free throws in some of these games. It's just not really and when an organization comes out and says, this is how we want things to go, it's hard to get.
The memo's already sent to the refs.
The writing's on the wall. They're going to call fouls for really idiotic reasons, and I'm not going to fight against that. So for me, if I don't like the over, I'm just not going to bet it. So for me in these games, and again, Donnie, I'm wanting to see what you're seeing here over at SBRodds.com. I just want to point this out. Bookmaker, Bet DSI, Intertops, you're starting to see some 8s with TCU now.
Yes, you are.
That one moved quickly. That was 7 just 5 minutes ago. It's now up to 8. I mentioned I bet it at 7.5, but you're starting to see some more money coming in on TCU here. And we saw it last night with Illinois, Donnie. Sharps came in and bet Illinois too. And, just a really hideous performance late by Boise in that game. Didn't make a three in the second half. They get 6 points over the final 10 minutes or some ridiculous stuff. So, yeah, I mean, sharps are coming in on some of these games.
Yeah, our next show, the Right Side of Campus, is going to be on Friday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So, of course, we are going to miss Thursday's action in the NCAA Tournament with March Madness. So, we're going to get into that right now, go over these 4 games with some maybe pointers and some leans that you might want to lock into. And certainly there, if you're on the message board, reach out to us on there. Which one of those 4 games you're interested in. Maybe you have an angle that you want us to discuss on those. But let's get right into it, Jeff. Let's look at the 7:09 Eastern Standard Time game, Kansas City, Missouri, at the Sprint Centers. This game is going to be the host. Michigan, everybody's public darling, God on their side, surviving plane crashes, wearing practice uniforms, wearing pink sneakers, and fighting their way all the way into the Sweet 16, going up against those Oregon Ducks. A fantastic matchup of guards in this one. If you take a look at Michigan overall, number 3 in the country in efficiency on offense, and certainly Oregon is no slouch, coming in as a top 25 program in adjusted efficiency for defense. Both of these teams can shoot the lights out. Michigan a little bit susceptible on the three-point line, but again, we're seeing one of those things where watching Michigan, Jeff, it does it like everybody's getting a power boost on that team. Unbelievable guard play with Walton. Mo Wagner's turned into Dirk Nowitzki / Charles Barkley rebounding the ball, just a super energy guy now. Talk to me about your early stage thoughts about this game when you saw the line come out, because if you check SBR odds, .com on that one, it's hovering anywhere between pick 'em to a -1, depending where you get it at.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not getting in front of Michigan. I know we could try to fight it and say that Oregon's going to be the team that knocks them off, and they very well could. They're good enough to do it. I'm just not interested in stepping in front of Michigan. They really showed me something again against Louisville, and for me, I'm not going to fight it, Donnie. They've beaten 2 very good opponents. They've beaten them and almost kind of dominated them, to be honest. I mean, I know they only won by a couple points, either way, but for the most part in that Oklahoma State game, they kind of led throughout. You kind of had the feeling they were going to win the game. And you look at Oregon. I mean, they struggled against Rhode Island. I was really surprised that they came back and won that game. Rhode Island was up 6 late in that game. That was just kind of one of those cases where the team's slightly better. But for me, Michigan, I'm not interested in stepping in front of this team right now. This line opened Michigan favorite. It opened Michigan favorite for a reason. Maybe the books are trying to tell you something there, but for me, this one's pretty short and sweet. I'm not sure if I'll bet it, but I'm not stepping in front of Beeline right now. This guy is really, to me, a top 5 coach in the country. I don't know why he doesn't get the respect that he should. You look at what he's done with this team since, really over the last month and a half. I mean, I remember early in the season, they were dreadful defensively. I mean, they were giving up a lot of points. I mean, points left and right, but they really kind of flipped the switch after beating Wisconsin. They only have lost twice since then, and really have just been a totally different team. They have so many guys that can beat you. DJ Wilson, Wagner, Derek Walton, Zach Irvin understands his role. Just so many different angles, and I like Oregon, but I think the Boucher injury will come back and hurt them at some point. I'm not as high.
Yeah, big man. I mean, if we look at this game, and I mean, we've watched a lot of Michigan basketball this year. The teams that Michigan really struggles with, is you throw Biggie Swanigan down there to put a body on Wagner. If you also, Ethan Happ can go down there unless he's getting double teamed and really beat Wagner up down there. Oregon's not this type of team, even with Boucher out. I mean, he's more of a perimeter type 6'10" player than a guy that's going to get down low and put some moves on you. So that's an interesting one that's going to be in Michigan's favor. But I just think it's maybe the best guard matchup in the tournament when you take a look at Michigan and Oregon. I mean, these kids are talented from the point. They're not afraid to shoot the step back 3 points. They're not afraid to shoot late in the game. It's going to be an interesting one when it all boils down to. If you're asking me to lean one way, again, I'm sort of with you on that train, Jeff, that says, Michigan is just unbelievable. It doesn't matter if you get them down. I mean, Louisville was a perfect matchup to go and beat Michigan, and they couldn't get it done. Michigan just made the shots as it goes down the end. Right now, still, I would be leaning towards Oregon, but again, you still have your thought in the mind that one of these Destiny-type teams, similar, we all like to talk with UConn a couple years back, it just has that same type of feel when you do take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say on Oregon is, and again, this is a very tough game to pick. Oregon, Tyler Dorsey's become kind of him and Dylan Brooks have become two of the best guards in the country as far as duo-wise. I mean, you look at Dorsey, 27 against Rhode Island, 24 against Iona. He scored 20 or more in 5 straight games. Really kind of become a really nice 1-2 punch. If they had Boucher, I would be on them in this game, but Wagner's really been a tough person to stop. Again, I don't want to step in front of Magic like this. I'll root for Michigan. I actually have them beating Oregon in my pool, so I'll hope that they win this one.
Let's go to the SAP Center at San Jose. Same day, Thursday. West Virginia is going to travel cross-country to play Gonzaga, 7:39 Eastern Standard Time start, which is interesting. That's early out there, being a 4:39 start. Gonzaga coming in, as we know, one of the higher-ranked teams in the country. A great dichotomy is going to set up here, big man. You're going to have good guard play, obviously, from Gonzaga, face that up-tempo, press Virginia-type play. But the one thing that Gonzaga can do, which a lot of the teams that face West Virginia have faced them this year, is they can body you up down low. Not only can they break their press with good guard play, but they're going to be able to throw that ball in down low. And Gonzaga's not going to get dominated on the boards like West Virginia likes to out-hustle you in this one. If you're looking at an early line, just checking out some of the numbers, you're probably going to get it right around, as we like to say, a field goal, depending on, shopping around 3. I did see a little bit of money actually coming on West Virginia this morning, but doesn't look like it shifted the line. Some are even showing as of 5 times 3.5 at this time. If you're asking me as an early indicator in this one, we've been high on Gonzaga. If you've watched our show all year long, I think it continues. And again, you're not asking Gonzaga to win by 10 points like you're typically asking them under many spreads. You're just looking for Gonzaga to win this game. I like the way Virginia hustles. I like the way they played against Notre Dame. But let's be honest. Notre Dame, if their shots aren't falling, they're a very soft team. West Virginia is a very, aggressive team that's going to body you up. Gonzaga's not afraid to run a half-court set, throw it in down low, and get some easy looks on an inside-out game. I would lean Gonzaga right now if we're looking at this Thursday matchup. Yeah,
look, it's all about the same song and dance every time you talk about a West Virginia game. Can the team play with that press? Your guess is as good as mine on what will happen here. I think Dodger Williams-Goss is a seasoned guard. I think he's one of the better guards you're going to find, and I think he will be okay in the press. The problem I have with the press is Josh Perkins has been very turnover prone at times this year. They're going to need to have a Herculean effort against this press to play well. The question is, can West Virginia score on Gonzaga in the half court? I'm not sure they can. Gonzaga has shown that they are one of the top defensive teams in the country. Listen, I actually think they're going to play decently against the press. I am a little concerned, but one thing I will point out, Gonzaga's a pretty deep team. I mean, Silas Melson, Josh Perkins, who I mentioned, Goss. They have the bigs with Tilly and Collins to kind of – and that's what's great about Gonzaga because we saw it against BYU. Few didn't sub Kornowski out when Mika was just dominating them. But now you have Collins and Tilly who can come in, and if Kornowski's not playing well on the defensive end or can't handle it, they can input them into kind of work on the perimeter and that kind of thing. So they really have so many options, and John Williams has really become a really solid player for them. Jordan Matthews. I just think they have too much for West Virginia, and like I've said before, the press is difficult, but once you break it, it really could set up a lot of shots that you can make. And I really want to point out in that game against Notre Dame, West Virginia had a lot of threes, it seemed like, in that one. I get the feeling against the top 3-point defense in the country, I don't think it's going to be as easy. Gonzaga wins. I think they waltzed to the Final Four at this point without Duke and Villanova and having to worry about them. So for me, this is it. Gonzaga gets the job done. I think they cover here as well.
Yeah, I know you've been pretty high on them. Let's get a quick look there. Thursday, March 23rd, again, the 9:39 Eastern Standard Time start out in Kansas City at the Sprint Center. Good matchup here. Big 10 team Purdue versus Big 12 team Kansas here. Interesting matchup again because Purdue presents problems that not many teams in the country can do. With Swanigan and Haas, you have major size down low. Kansas, if there's any chink in their armor, Jeff, we've been talking about all year long, is the play of their, power forward centers and so to speak, but you can't get any better when you roll out Frank Mason, Josh Jackson, and Devontae Graham's superior guard play, which I don't know, other than maybe who I used to look at Villanova before they got knocked out, a 1-2 punch in the backcourt like they have. But they're going to have their hands full with Biggie Swanigan down low. Purdue can shoot the three. They're going to be playing an inside-outside game. If Swanigan can stay out of foul trouble, this game looks like a really close one heading down the stretch. Any early thoughts or leans on this one?
Not Not particularly. I actually think that for me, this is a home game for Kansas. This is a very tough atmosphere if you're Purdue to go in and win. The question I have is, are Purdue's guards good enough to handle Graham and Mason and Josh Jackson? I don't think they are. They've had a nice season. Swanigan's a good player, but we've seen at times where they just don't get him the basketball for some reason. Listen, he's going to get his down low. I think they're okay with that. Other than that, I'm not too particularly worried if I'm Kansas about a lot of these guys from Purdue. I just don't know that they're that good. We saw how Matt Painter this is a guy I don't want my money in the hands of. I dealt with it on Saturday. Luckily, they got the job done, but I'm not looking to do it again. I think Kansas will win and cover.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong in that one too, Jeff. The Sprint Center does host the Big 12 championship. Is that correct?
It does. Yeah, this is
probably same locker room, same hotel, same stuff.
This is literally Lawrence South for Kansas. This is a really tough spot. And again, I think they're okay. Like if Swanigan drops 25, I mean, because I don't know that there's anyone else that really is going to be someone that they have to really worry about. I mean, they're good enough athletically to play with these guys, and I don't think they're too worried about one guy beating them. So
yeah, let's go back out west there. In the last game of the matchup on Thursday, you have Xavier and Arizona. To me, I mean, Xavier catches a break by playing Florida State, plays out of their mind, comes up with an easier victory. I think that actually is going to play into maybe a little bit of the public logic saying, wait a second, I just saw Xavier catching about the same exact line, 7 to 7.5 out there. Well, this game's going to be played out in San Jose. That's Pac-12 country, but Arizona slowed down with St. Mary's, ends up beating them. Coming in, riding horse high, no major injuries. I know, I believe it was in that last game. Was it Raleigh Atkins that got banged up in the first half versus St. Mary's? I think he caught the finger injury or something like that, but doesn't have any ill effects on that one for Arizona. But to me, looking at that early number, it does seem high. But I think Arizona here plays exactly the way Xavier doesn't want. And I think they're going to overpower them just overall with athletic ability. If you look at, again, Arizona coming down the stretch, last loss February 25th to UCLA. I get it. UCLA is a very good basketball team, but really handling their business, blew out North Dakota, really seized the day in the second half against Arizona in a tough matchup because, you want to maybe get out and run a little bit more. If St. Mary forces you in the half-court game, they were sensational in the second half, really shut the door on St. Mary. I see more of the same here, Jeff, against Xavier.
Yeah, I mean, again, Sean Miller with the fantastic coaching job. I mean, you look at, they lost Ray Smith early on, Parker Jackson, Cartwright, Trier. I mean, they've all had a multitude of different problems. They have one senior on this team, Donnie, one. Deem Allen, who is also their best defender. You have to imagine they'll put him on Blewett. He's a lot like Rondae Hollis Jefferson. I think will kind of, not exactly him, but kind of a poor man's Hollis Jefferson. He'll be able to handle Blewett, I would imagine. Chris Mack, valiant effort, done a nice job here. But this looks like a double-digit win for Arizona, if you ask me. I haven't really capped this one just yet, so I apologize for that. But, look, it's out in San Jose. There should be a nice contingent of Arizona fans. And, for me, it's Blewett, and that's that. That's really it. So I would lean Arizona. Haven't really capped it too much yet, though.
Yeah, no, it should be interesting. I mean, you get that sort of little calm down period today with only 2 games. The NIT ramps back up tomorrow with a couple games. And also, I guess the CIT CBI starts back up with a couple ones. Cal State Bakersfield, that little engine that could's going to be in play again tomorrow versus an up-tempo Texas Arlington that just steamed over Akron, who just looked like they basically ran out of gas on the road, didn't have much to even deal with them right from jump in that. But it's going to be interesting. Again, we'll be back on Friday with the right side of campus at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow, we're going to dip a lot more into the tournament and see how the tournament's going to set up, not only from a betting perspective, but actually how we think it's going to play out on the road to the Final Four with the roundtable tomorrow, Jeff. Should be an interesting week as we wrap up. Do you have any extra thoughts out there for the listeners before we get out of here?
My eyes will be glued to the TV tonight. Japan, USA, and the World Baseball Classic. I'm really looking forward to it. Should be a great game. Japan, obviously a power, but we all know the U.S. is as well. Should be a great game. They get to face Puerto Rico gets to face the winner tomorrow in the final. So I'll be watching that tonight. But yeah, not a lot going on. It's honestly, I'm not sure that late night on campus tonight would even be relevant, honestly. But we'll see what we do with that. Obviously there are going to be
good.
Yeah, obviously there are going to be some slow nights though with some of the things coming up here with some of the no baseball and limited basketball. So we'll see. I'll be looking forward to that game tonight, though. I also tonight want to point out I would be on a little bit later with the very talented and beautiful Natalie RightSide. I'll be joining those guys over at the Bankroll to talk a little World Cup qualifiers. I got all my info. We're talking football, Donnie.
Yeah, you got to get that lingo down. Hosted by Natalie RightSide.
Yes. I don't have an English accent, but I guess I have a Philly accent that I could put on there, right?
No, it should be good. And by the way, we do have the late night at campus tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There will be a game live tonight as we go over Georgia Tech, Mississippi. I mean, heck, we might as well just do play-by-play because, again, there's not much college basketball. But we'll have a good time just breaking down some things. If somebody had a bad beat out there or wants to take a look at some extended NCAA action for tomorrow, that's what that show's about. Real lighthearted there, going back and forth on that. Yeah,
Don, this is kind of something we can decide maybe later. I mean, do we want to do it tonight? I mean, there is a very limited –
why not? Well, hang out. Hey, maybe we'll talk beer and cigars.
Yeah, I mean, you feel free to bring on whatever you want. We'll talk about whatever, I guess. But we'll see how it goes. Thank you, Donnie, for hosting. Always great.
Yep.
Thanks to Matt behind the scenes. And, for me, I would just kind of look at maybe Richmond and the Ole Miss Rebels tonight.
Yeah, we'll take a look. Well, that'll wrap the show up today. Contact at uwager.eu. Thanks to sbrodds.com. We'll check you later tonight on the Late Night at Campus, 10 o'clock. Take care.